In today's video, another edition of the weekly condo market update, wherein I go through some of the latest numbers, trends, and news items in the Toronto/GTA condominium market. Let's get to it. Hello everyone, this is Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and Remax Realtron Realty Inc. As always, back with another video for you guys here today. You can find my contact information in terms of my Gmail, my office information, and my social media platforms, Instagram and TikTok, in the description box. Feel free to get in touch with me with any questions you may have. Furthermore, feel free to look me up on Google and you can find my Google reviews as well. Lastly, feel free to subscribe, comment, rate, and review. So in this week's edition of the weekly condo market update, I thought we would take a look at condo prices for downtown, more particularly C1, which is central downtown. As always, you can find the link to the maps in the description box to look at average condo prices and number of solds in the month of February by bedroom number. So we're going to take a look at, for instance, the first week, which I've designated January 31st to February 6th, the second week, February 7th to February 13th, so on and so forth. In terms of average sold prices by bedroom number. And overall, before we get into the condo prices, and this is obviously something I'll touch on, it's safe to say that into February, as we will see, supply has improved somewhat, particularly, of course, with regards to downtown. Nonetheless, it doesn't seem to have that much of an impact on the demand. The demand remains strong, and the supply hasn't improved by a great enough margin to match the demand. However, nonetheless, this is a good trajectory nonetheless, because although once again the supply has not improved to the degree that would be required to kind of quell the competition, and from the buyer's perspective, we do like the general direction. From the seller's perspective, of course, downtown still remains a very competitive and hot market and very seller-friendly market. But interestingly enough, when we take a look at the numbers, mainly in this regard, as I did in my previous video where I went through the 5 areas that have increased the most in average sold price, downtown areas, particularly C1 and C8, did not rank in the top 5 in terms of year-over-year price growth. What was mainly in those lists were North York and Midtown. C2, of course, being partially downtown, but more so the latter halves of C2 where it goes into Midtown. So the point here is, although it's already a very competitive and seller-friendly market, the downtown areas, insofar as C1 and C8 are concerned, actually have more room to go, because once again, other areas have completely outpaced downtown in that particular year-over-year view. Just keep that in mind, right? Because we were just looking at general prices across all property types, across all of the communities in these big designated areas, right? If we specify our lens, maybe we will yield different results, right? With reference to only that particular perspective that we adopted, downtown has more room to grow, and I think it's generally accurate. I do think right now downtown has more room to grow and has been completely outpaced by North York and the latter halves of Midtown, a little bit towards Eglinton and St. Clair West. So that's more of the macro, right? Let's look into the particular numbers now thus far in February by bedroom number. When we do that, we'll start with January 31st to February 6th. Here we see an overall average sold price of $790,000, with the total number of transactions equaling 111. In this particular week, in terms of inventory, there was about 145 units that came onto the market. However, it's not the fairest and most accurate representation to just look at the 145 inventory and 111 sold, because 111 sold obviously can account for inventory that came on the market the preceding week, the preceding month. You get the point, right? Here, this first week of February, as we see studios, the 0-bedroom type, were around $519,000 in average sold price based upon 9 sales. Ones came in at $698, 1+1s came in at $776, 2s came in around $870,000 in average sold price, and 2+1s obviously 1.1 million. Now, when we shift our focus to the following week, right, we look at February 7th to February 13th. Now we see 113 sales in the second full week of February, but some numbers may actually confuse you a bit. Like for instance, Here we see the average sold price jump all the way up to $890,000. Here we see the average sold price jump all the way up to $870,000 from the preceding $790,000. And for instance, some things do not match up with the preceding week. Here, 2 bedrooms sold on an average basis, of course, in this week at 1.137, more than 2+1s in this week and more than the preceding week, both with reference to 2s and 2+1s. So this is where we have to keep in mind the sample size, because it's quite a small sample size, right? For instance, in this second week, it's not the case that all of a sudden 2s completely outpaced 2+1s in that span of the week. It's just the case that the particular 2s that sold in the second week of February in downtown Toronto were far more prestigious and luxurious and spacious and larger and more in demand than, of course, of the 2+1s that sold in this particular week. So in this case, this is where we actually have to look at the fine details and break it down as per a transactions basis, right? Go case by case, because when the sample size is small and the timeline we're taking into account is small as well, a calendar week, a lot of things can throw off the averages. But what did remain the case despite all those caveats is the fact that into the second week of February, I saw it firsthand working on the ground with buyers and sellers, that prices picked up substantially. The competition was by no means quelled. And based on 41 transactions with regards to 1+1s, that's not a small sample size. It makes up almost 50% of the 113 sales we're looking at here. And not obviously quite 50%. But nonetheless, the point here remains that 1+1s saw an uptick in prices. And this is not with regards to just the 1+1s that sold. And here in this particular week, the inventory count was at 156. So about 14 more than the previous week. So about 11 more than the previous week. Just as a point of reference, when we look at some weeks in January, and this is because we should ideally know where, you know, these listing figures rank thus far in 2022. In January, some weeks we're looking at 120, as low as 90. So nonetheless, far higher than what we're seeing in January, which is not without exception. For instance, the last week of January, we saw 146. Of course, the first, as I made clear right now, the first week of February, we saw 145. So we obviously see the general trajectory now. Listing numbers are increasing. Now let's take a look at the week up to the point of recording of this video, which is the 18th of February, which of course is not a complete week, but here this might actually kind of surprise you. Thus far, you know, from Monday the 14th to Friday the 18th, the day you're probably watching this, and this is being recorded, to the time of recording this video, because this is not a complete day yet, right? So after this video, more inventory can even come onto the market and more solds can occur. But up to the time of recording of this video, on this day, thus far in this week, there has been 162 listings, 162. So not even a full weekend, we've already outpaced the previous 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks of the month of February. Anyways, that is it for today's video. That's Sam from SaberiSixRealEstate and Remax Realtron Realty. As always, you can find the contact info in the description box. Feel free to get in touch with me with any questions. Subscribe, comment, rate, and review if you happen to enjoy this video. And yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.